Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday live sessions. Before I delve into today's topic, which is called How to Help Students Develop Hope and Build Resilience, and before I introduce today's guest, I just want to give everyone a little context about who I am, and then introduce the guest, and then we'll delve into the topic. So my name is Gina Nelson. I am the founder of Bella and Bella Productions, which is a community platform that's designed to build and nurture strong communities of women. Here today, we are going to be looking at partnering with raise the awareness of coaching and education. And for those of you who are not aware of race is really a community platform. It's a movement. It's really a movement about having individuals come together, regardless of whether they are parents, coaches, students, and really center around these meaningful conversations where we could value differences and really appreciate the differences. And where Diving for Pearls and Bella Productions kind of intertwine or align is that we're both looking at ways in which we can maximize individuals' potentials and also help them support the growth of others. So I would like to introduce today's guests. I have two ladies who I've worked with intimately on an academic as well as a social level. So can we begin with Mayusha? Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Gina, for allowing me to be part of this. My name is Mayusha Maharaj. I've been working with Gina at cluster level in ESE, and it's been so great having her support and grow with her. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayusha. And Nancy?
Yes, hello. This is Nancy Al-Hyari. This is Nancy Al-Hyari. So yes, I've been working with Gina and Mayusha for now 2 years, I think. It's been lovely. It was a pleasure working with you ladies, and I've learned lots of things about you guys, and I grew with you, so that was a wonderful experience.
Okay, thank you. So before we delve into today's topic, which again is how to help students develop hope and resilience, I just want to share why we've chosen that topic. We're trying to align the next 5 parts of these Wednesday live sessions that will continue through March and April along the themes of Women's History Month. So this March, this Women's History Month theme is called Women Providing Healing, Providing Hope. So it's really a tribute to the women and the individuals who've been behind the scenes during the pandemic, helping support individuals through this ongoing pandemic. And we've chosen those themes, and we are going to center on women as guests and talk about, in general, how we can help not just women, but men, because we know men have to be part of this conversation. So we're going to start with today's topic. And first, I want to ask both of you, what is your understanding, or how do you articulate resilience?
Things, but still bounce back, still find the positivity that, comes from any of their harsh situations.
That's good. And Nancy, anything to add to that?
For me, I think resilience is, as she said, like you have some difficulty, challenges, disappointments, because we all work into trying to achieve something, and maybe we get it, maybe we don't, and we put all that hard work. Mm-hmm. I think accepting that not everything is under our control. Sometimes things, are, I don't know, you can say the universe, God, or whatever, there's other powers into there. So accepting sometimes the situation that is, and instead of focusing on the problem, actually thinking of the solution and what is your next steps. And I think that's what resilience is for me. So it's focusing on the next steps.
I like that. So you had some interesting overlap in terms of ideas. So bouncing back, which I think is critical when we talk about helping students build resilience. And then Nancy, going to your points about focusing on what you can control. So which leads me into the first question of our 3 questions, guiding questions that we're going to discuss today. So we know that COVID obviously presented a lot of challenges for our students. So not just our staff in terms of their emotional and social health that was greatly impacted. We know there was significant learning loss. Some of the statistics show that students had a learning loss in literacy alone of just 2 years. But then we know underlying there was emotional impacts that were experienced at the student level. I think the statistics around prescriptions had significantly increased in terms of individuals requesting for prescriptions. So how, in the context of the classroom, have you helped students embrace change? Mayusha, if you could start with that.
Okay, so basically, a lot of the students have, come in despondent after being at home, and like you said, COVID. They had to jump into the situation where they were sitting there in front of a computer. There was no face to face, and you weren't available to them as you always were, and they found that they lose interest. you know they're sitting there, the laptop's on, but they're not responding. They literally just, sometimes they switch off, or they go. And you're trying to have this communication open, you're trying to build this, but I guess the students missed that. And that's what they said. The learning loss or the gap happened because they need a physical person to be there to sort of nurture what they are trying to learn, give that positive environment to them. So I think with them coming in and, like you said, needing these prescriptions, etc., it comes from that sort of putting them in a dark place, and them not knowing now, how do I actually get out of this? How do I get back to what I've missed? How do I now adapt to this change? And the positivity flowing. So we need to remind the students that although, it's been COVID, although they're at home, you still have other ways of communication. They need to look past the problem and sort of look for the possible solutions, like Nancy mentioned before. What way can I now go forward from this? Where's the positivity that's coming in? How do I maneuver around these challenges? So it's nice to remind, like I remind my students, it doesn't matter. We've got various different communication channels. Reach out. Reach out to your friends. Stay connected with your friends, because that way you don't feel like I have to be in the classroom to have this conversation. I can have this conversation. I can find help from my friends. I can sort of take this situation and turn it into something positive.
And we are going to touch back on that whole idea of making connections and how important that is in terms of building resilience. So Nancy, anything you would like to add to Mayusha's comments?
As she said, the students, when they came back, especially with the hybrid, some of them were in school, some of them were not. Sometimes it's 1 week they're in school, 1 week for another. But it surprised me how resilient they actually are. They just bounced back as if the school never ended. Maybe not academically, but socially, they were really okay. Not all of them, but most students were able to reconnect with their friends, make new friends, connecting with teachers. They were really excited that now, as she said, as Nisha just said, they are back with, physical classroom where they can actually connect with their peers, with their teachers, and most of them will say this is finally we're getting back to normal. So seeing that was really interesting, but at the same time, because of the huge learning loss, because when they were at home, either there were a lot of difficulties, not just losing interest. A lot of them had a lot of kids at home, a lot of siblings, so they weren't able to focus. Sometimes they would help their younger siblings, and there were technical issues, the internet, whatever. So they did not focus academically as they would have done if we were in school. And when you see them come back, you see them struggling. And I think that's where the teacher role comes in, or the educator. How I'm going to adapt my curriculum to fit each student's needs so they can cope up and not feel overwhelmed. Because what happens, especially with this, with the scientific, material like math and stuff like that, the huge information, it could overwhelm them, and they could even step further back instead of going forward. So the teacher's role is how to make it easier for them so they could come in and enjoy the classroom and see their progress. And I think making sure for them to understand that it's okay to make a little step further. It doesn't have to be a leap. And that's where teacher, keeping positivities as Mayusha said, and celebrating with small steps that students are taking, and collaborating with other teachers. That helps a lot.
You touched on some valid points, so I like your ideas about showing them what they've already accomplished or where they are at, reminding them of their strengths, which I think is important. And then you also touched on something that I think is important in light of the research that we're seeing, that again, the learning loss was significant. However, the more personalized the learning was and bespoke it was and tailored to students' need, the greater growth we saw among students. So the personalized teaching is extremely important. And I know both of you have done a lot in your classrooms around goal setting. What do you think is the importance of helping students with setting goals, both short-term and long-term goals? Mayusha?
So like Nancy said, personalizing something. I think when you give somebody an opportunity to set a goal, you sort of give them the obligation to act. So sort of that encourages them to be more motivated, to sort of think critically, to decide now, how do I achieve this goal? What should I do? It gives them, this ability to now manage their time better, be more organized. So designing goals for students, it helps them to sort of be more confident and to take charge of their lives. So short-term goals sort of tie into their long-term goals. So when we say develop a short-term goal, but keep it simple, like Nancy said, little things that you can achieve, and at the same time you can be proud of what you've achieved, and you can find that motivation to push you further as you go along to achieve these long-term goals. So I think goal setting is very, very important because there's lots of skills that tie into it that help students to grow personally and emotionally as well. So once students are aware of, what am I capable of, what makes me work harder, then they're able to decide, okay, now I know my capabilities. This is now where I want to go. This is the direction I need to get in. So now let me start working towards it. These are the goals I can achieve. And I think also focusing on tracking these goals. How far can I reach? What have I achieved? Target setting and tracking their target setting is also quite important for students, because not only do I want to set a goal, but I also want to know, can I reach this goal? Have I reached this goal? Can I measure the things that I've been doing? And how does it now help me? How has it made me grow? What are the positives that I can take from it?
I like that. Yeah. I like the ideas you said about setting goals, help students obviously take greater accountability for their learning. And then the important piece in terms of goal setting is having the students then look and monitor their own progress and see where they are in terms of achieving their goals, but also celebrating the small successes, which I think is important. And Nancy, I know you've done a lot around goal setting as well, and I know you and I have had some conversations about what do a student want to be as opposed to what they want to do. So the difference between the being and doing. So if you could share some of your thoughts.
I did work in two different projects for the classes I teach. One of them was I was trying to focus so that students would understand the difference between a dream and actually setting goals. Because for dream, okay, I do have a dream, but what's next? What is my plan? This is where goals come in. And after that, okay, I created goals. What is the steps I'm gonna actually take to achieve these goals? Because you can write a goal, but how are you gonna achieve that goal? And that's why I focus on one of my classes on understanding the difference between these and understanding the difference between discipline and what is it called? No, I forgot.
Okay.
Okay, because discipline is different, because you need to be disciplined, because sometimes you don't want to do something. Like for our kids, sometimes they don't want to study. But if they keep the end in mind, which is I want to get straight A's or whatever, then they can be disciplined that I'm going to study for 1 hour and give myself a small treat or whatever. And that's, how they can focus on their, steps and goals instead of being broad. And for the other class, because I've noticed that most of the kids, they didn't know what they want to be after school. That if you ask them, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? They were like, Miss, I don't know. I've never thought about it. I don't care right now, and whatever. So I told them, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to sit, think of what you want to be when you grow up. I want you then to write down the skills that you need to achieve what you want to be. Like if you want to be a doctor, then what skills do you need to be a doctor? If you want to be a kindergarten teacher, what skills do I need to be a kindergarten teacher? And then next, okay, what am I going to do to achieve this? So this one that took a little bit more steps because it was a younger class. They needed, a few more lessons. And at the end of this project, hopefully we can do a video where each student will talk about what she wants. Like after she figures out the whole thing, and then she can go back to it whenever she likes and share it with other the school. Maybe that also will help other students to think about it. So we'll see at the end of this project what's going to happen.
Thank you, Nancy. I like that in terms of looking at the steps that you need to take towards a goal. What have you done around, and either one of you can answer this, Mayusha or Nancy, around character development? Because that's integral in terms of setting goals. So looking at developing your own character in addition to achieving a goal that maybe I want to achieve a certain amount of progress on either a writing assignment, etc.
Yeah, this is like one, like when we do a well-being class, what you usually think before we write these goals, it's not just in school, it's everything. What type of a person I want to be when I grow up, or tomorrow, or whatever, next day. What type of person I want to be? Do I want to be an honest person? Do I want to be a smart one? Do I want to be, someone who exercises, who take care of her, blah, 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 all of this. Not just like academically. Like, want to be academic, okay, that's the easiest part, to be honest. I want to be straight A's, okay, let's study every day. No, I'm trying to always to focus on the other parts of our characters. Like, what do I want to be, what I want to be as a person. Like, when everybody says, okay, this person, then what is the characteristic everybody wants to, describe you with? And then write down, how can I be this person? And actually, like one of the books I always recommend, the one that you recommended, the Habits one. I forgot now.
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. Like understanding that you need to be or increase 1%, 2% every day to achieve that goal. And you're so surprised that most of the students actually are interested in these things. Like, how can we create a new habit? Like, this is the most questions that I've received. Like, then I tell them, okay, if you want to create habit, first step, you need to make it personal. And to make it personal, you need to understand what you want to be as a person. And we go from there.
So you talk about habits. So those of you who don't know the book, it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. I recommend that you do read it and pick it up. So can both of you, before we go to the next question, because both of you share one healthy habit that you currently have that you think helps you in terms of developing your own open resilience. Because as we are aware, as educators, it's always best that we lead by example. So if we already have that habit, students will pick up on that habit and follow our model. So Mayusha, what's that?
So the one thing I have is I never take the lift. I've always been taking the stairs. So I've been encouraging the kids as well to keep taking the stairs. So when they see me, they sort of join in, and they like, we had one morning where we just went to the gym and we put on a little aerobics video, and I said, right, let's do this together. So they always, whenever they see me, they're like, okay, miss, we know we're supposed to be more active, because I find that especially if they're having lessons at the end of the day, they sort of like get to the point where they just want to fall asleep, So I go into the classroom and I'm like, right, everybody up, let's jog on the spot, let's wake up, and then now you're more alert. So I find that keeping them active, whenever they see me, they know they must be up and they must be active. So that's one thing that I find makes a difference for me, because I like to be active as well, but I find that the kids are embracing it more and more.
I want to be more active.
And then Nancy, any healthy habit that you've seen either your students adopt because you've been actually practicing on a daily basis?
Yes. I think the most one that I see in my students is actually reading and listening to podcasts, because now they would recommend me actually new books or new podcasts to hear, and that's really lovely. So I love that they are trying new things, they're trying to learn, and now they have better discussions in terms of on topics of this. Like they even go to the. We do have a radio show in our school that's in the assembly in the morning, and they would say like, "Miss Nancy told us this," and they would talk like how we do in the lessons, and it's really, great to see them. They are trying to bring the conversation that we have in classroom in the school. That was really amazing.
And that's good because I also have kids who prefer reading, and like I say to them, it's rare to find that now because everybody is social networking all the time. So I say to them, put it away. Let's discuss one thing that you've read that was exciting, or something that you heard that was inspiring. So I like that, Nancy. It's really
that's a great habit to build a culture of reading amongst the school, amongst the community. So thank you for that. And we'll go into our last question, and then we'll share with the audience 5 tips in terms of helping students build resilience and develop hope. So our last question, or what are some of your suggestions that you currently have? We touched on this a little bit in terms of helping students build resilience and develop hope.
Do you want to go?
For this one.
Do you want to start with make connections, Nancy?
All right.
Okay. We'll just start with make connections because that's something that Nancy does currently.
Well, for me, because for my team, I always tell them always try to make connections with your students, and the same thing for the students. Like go outside of your comfort zone, because sometimes what happens in classroom, you see some divisions in the classroom. And it's really important for the teacher to note that and to try to, make them, try to make everybody connect with everybody. And that can be done through group work or peers or, team pair share or whatever. There's a lot of strategies that teachers can do to include everybody and, let them all communicate. And it's really amazing when you see sometimes groups and you see a small conflict and you want to get in and you find them, they are solving it alone, resolving it alone, because they are learning how to communicate, especially after COVID now. Some students are struggling because they've been alone, maybe they don't have siblings at home, so they've been sitting at home alone. But now, if we do that, we're including even these kids who are struggling with these and include them in the conversation, that's good. And encouraging initiative in school. Because what happens in schools usually, because we do have 2 streams, you find that 2 streams do not connect. They don't have friends from the other stream. It's like we're separated. You guys are the study ones, we are the fun ones. But it's like what I'm trying to do, like go and meet these kids, meet these other students, see how they think. You may learn, because what you notice, for the general stream, they are more resilient than the advanced streams. Although the advanced streams are the ones that, do academically better, but the others work socially more than the advanced stream. So you find them more resilient, more social, they can cope better with changes, they always have more positive attitude than the advanced stream. And I always tell them, go learn these things, because sometimes we are, as an adult, even if they see you doing like new habits or whatever, for them, you're still an adult, you figure it out. That's how they think. But when they see peers, from the same level, it's different.
They learn from each other.
They're learning from each other. It's way different and it's faster. Because so when they set positive example for each other, that's great. So like creating, this is what I'm thinking, maybe we can do, like creating small discussion groups that can be done between different classes and include them in the conversation. That would be really, I think it would make a real change, because everybody can learn from it.
I know I always say to them, keep the lines of communication open. Surround yourself with positive people and give off that positive energy. Because if you are positive, it rubs off. So, like she said, like go and make friends outside of your circle. Take that with you and sort of keep the lines of communication open.
And you need your support system outside of the house, of the home. You need your, because there's things that your friends can help more than your family can help. So, creating connections, even like just to talk about things, it's way better than, just not communicating. So sometimes you find isolated kids, and the only way to bring them out of their isolation is just, trying to help. Like as she said, if everybody is connecting, this kid will end up connecting with others.
So I heard two things from what you said, Nancy, that are important. Connection, so making those connections, and then being a little deliberate in terms of how you're pairing students up and having them collaborate. So you mentioned the advanced stream and the general stream. So having more interaction physically with them and engaging them in meaningful conversations. So I like what you're doing. And then so we'll go to our second tip. Thank you, Nancy, which is maintaining daily routines and setting goals. Actually, that's one of the things that Mayusha was going to talk about. So Mayusha, we talked a little bit about this, how to nurture a positive mindset and really the positive thinking. So positive self-review and then maintaining that positive thinking.
So like Nancy spoke about, an activity. So what I get them to do is to write a letter to themselves from a friend, describing them. So you are pretending to be your friend, describing you, and write down all the qualities you think I have. What is it about me that you like, or what is it that you would want to change? So they write this letter to themselves, highlighting all these strengths and what are certain areas they could work on, etc. And I tell them to try and be as honest as possible. So in that way, they look at what they already have. So maybe they have humor, which is good for them. Maybe they have good time management. Maybe they are optimistic. Whatever skills that their friends sees in them, they can start there. That's their positive. So they look at it and they say, okay, I already have these qualities. I can take these qualities, and if I possess these already, imagine what other qualities I could also achieve. So I like doing that with them, and they read it out to their friends, and then friends pipe up and say, you could add this, or maybe you could add that, and it opens up a big discussion. And I like the fact that they now see that the opportunity for them to be better is there. And I also say to them, it's not only about the skills that you possess, it's your lifestyle as well. So maintaining a healthy lifestyle helps to increase your positivity, to release stress. So I say to them, don't look at how we can eliminate stress completely, but rather look at the ways we can manage stress and anxiety. So these are little tips that we say to the kids. This is how we just bring in positivity into our everyday life, our everyday routine. Because the more you have that positivity, the more you see that you can grow and strengthen what you have, but also acquire and achieve other goals, targets, skills, and yeah.
I like that, Maisha. I like the assignments because sometimes I think we look at from a deficit point of view, like we don't really examine our own strengths initially. So I love that activity that you have your students engage in, where they're writing a letter and from the friend's perspective, and the person is telling what they see as strengths. And of course, areas of improvement.
It's amazing how the kids don't know what they possess already, and it's so nice to see them. It takes some time for them to actually be honest about it. But I like that when we do eventually discuss it, the friends are also there to say, like, you may have missed this out, and they think about it and they're like, oh, I actually do this. I actually do. Oh, I do have this quality. I didn't know this about myself. So it's great for them, and it helps them to see their positives, and it makes them want to be better. So I like it.
No, thank you for sharing that.
Great activity.
Yeah, it is a great idea.
I'm gonna steal it.
Go ahead. That. So Nancy, the third point, I'm sorry, maintaining daily routines. We talked about this a little bit in terms of forming habits and setting goals.
Yes.
How do you help your students?
We discussed Jordan Peterson, of course.
Yes. Nancy's been reading Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life.
Yes. I always tell them, as he says, that create a schedule, but not a prison. Okay,
Create a schedule, but not a prison.
I love that.
Like create a routine that will help you achieve your goal. And your goal, like I told them, for example, you want to do a 100 in science or math or English. Do not wait till the last minute to study for your exam. Think about it like this way. If I study today for 1 hour, tomorrow for half an hour, then the next day for an hour, when I get to the exam, I'll be ready. I wouldn't have to cram or stay up till, late before my exam. I'll be ready for my exam. So I told them, have that in, the end point as your target when you set your routine. Don't do it daily. This is from the habits of seven habits effective people. Like, do not create a routine just for today. Like when you want to create a routine, think of the whole month, the whole term, what I'm gonna achieve. I'm thinking like, okay, today I'm gonna do this as step, because at this will you always will be just reactive to whatever you want to do for today. But instead, be proactive and just plan for the whole month how you're going to deal with all your assignments, tasks, or whatever you even like, as you said, like a healthy lifestyle. And one of the things like we've noticed in our schools is that they don't have a healthy breakfast. Like include a healthy breakfast in your routine. This is very important. If you come to school you did not eat or have a healthy breakfast, how are you going to understand anything? It's a long time, and then you finally eat chips or soda or whatever. That's not healthy. Go for an orange juice. Even a tea is better than soda or whatever. So, emphasizing that there is a healthier option of whatever they are doing, not just food, a healthy option, and how they can set times to watch TV, read their favorite book, go out with their friends, and at the same time set a time to do your work, and how they can give themselves a small reward at the end. Like instead of like as we said, don't create a prison. Like, okay, you're gonna do all of this today. What is your reward at the end of the day? So give your little self that is inside you, little reward, a pat in the head, like, okay, we done well today. At the end of the day, treat yourself to something nice. Doesn't have to be something grand. Maybe, I don't know, sometimes they love play PlayStations or whatever. But give yourself half an hour on PS or, half hour reading, watching TV, talking to a friend, and just realizing this will help them along the run. Like, and what I'm doing today will just help me instead of having to cram next time. I won't be able to cram. I'll still be able to enjoy my weekends, even if I have an exam tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. Just reminds me what one of my mentors always said: be prepared. Yes. So in terms of preparation, just making sure you're setting goals. You're looking at the week. You're looking at the month. But then you're also reviewing the schedule and seeing what you need to adjust
and change.
So, thank you, Nancy.
And do healthy breakfast.
Yes, I know. Healthy breakfast. We had this conversation. That's important. Okay, then. Actually, Nancy, I'll just have you continue because the next thing we're going to talk about is the importance of also taking a break, because that's important in terms of setting goals and then celebrating successes. When do you encourage your students to take a break?
Well, especially now we have the exam time. You find them going back home, rushing to study, and then they get anxious, they get nervous because they do not take a pause. Sometimes you just need to, hit that pause button, do something relaxing, and then get back to work. Otherwise, you'll just, never be able to accomplish whatever you want, because if you keep or stay in that state of anxiety and stress, whatever you study, you're not going to do well in the exam because your state of mind is not okay to go to the exam. So sometimes that is okay just to take that pause. Even if it's for a day, go out with your friends, go out with your family. Like this day, like the other week, they were a little bit, this what to study, what to do, like chill. Okay, you did well for the term. Come with this. Let's clap for us. Take a break today, take a pause, and you already have everything that you need. And you've already studied the whole book, so there's nothing you need. So just take a breather. And it's sometimes because they are so focused on what they want. They want that 100. They do forget the important thing that in order to achieve, and studies shows actually to achieve better, sometimes you need to focus.
Yeah, you definitely need to take a break.
You need to take a break.
Yeah, because
we actually mental health is important.
Yeah, we call it my time for me.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, so I say to them, so what did you do in your my time for me? And then they have to tell me, what are some of the things that they did to take a break, just to focus on themselves. So I agree, Nancy. It's so important, especially when you've got kids in grade 12, and they are
especially in the advanced
stream. They sort of put too much pressure on themselves, and they know, oh, I'm advanced, this is expected, or elite stream or whatever. So I say to them, yes, fine, it's expected, and you can still do it, but you can take that break. What do you do now when you burn out? nobody can help you. So take a step back. I've got this, and this to complete, but I can get it all done. Focus on routine, like building a nice sort of routine where I can schedule each thing in, but at the same time, I need some time for me. I need to,
And I think that's how
yeah.
it helps if, from the beginning. If
Mhm.
they have created that schedule and routine,
Yes.
they wouldn't feel that way
Yeah.
because they've already there's space for pauses.
Yeah.
And Mayusha, I like that. So is your old school adopting that approach, my time for me?
Well, I try to do it within the department, and then a lot of teachers sort of grasp that and say, "Oh, I like this. Let's take this. Let's run with it." And whenever we come out with something new, we sort of share it with
The other
the other
departments.
departments, the leads, and say, "This is something that I'm doing. Maybe
Yeah.
you'd like to try it." And it works for some. Sometimes it doesn't, but we try to share as many ideas as possible. I mean, promoting that well-being, that healthy lifestyle, promoting that positivity is important for all of them. So
I think that's
I like
like
that.
what needs to happen is when we get back to school, hopefully term 3 everybody's going to be in school, is bring back the homeroom teacher that
Yeah.
we used to have, because that would make a lot of difference.
yeah, because they even scheduled a time for them to be with the homeroom teacher. I think they called it a sanar period or something like that,
Mm.
where they sort of had to
That-
be.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I think
that's,
it was about
important.
culture and things like that. But this well, some of the advanced students asked for, can we carve out a time where we can literally just sit and discuss how we can focus on becoming more positive. How can we focus on important tips that can help us to take a break, to be better, sort of help us to orient our lives for the future.
I like
That's
that.
why we need the homeroom teacher
Yeah.
back.
That's
Yeah,
a
it
great-
made a difference when we used to have it.
Yeah.
Because you will be able to have discussions like this.
Yes. Because like you find it cutting into your teaching time,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's such good discussions that you can't not have those conversations.
Yes.
So I like what Mayusha said around really just creating a space.
Mhm.
I'm going to appropriate the my time for me. So thank you for sharing that. And Mayusha, we're going to end with you. Accepting change is part of living. So how do you, in your classroom, help students embrace change and accept it as part of living?
Yeah, so like I said before, COVID was such a big thing for them. So I said to a lot of the students, you need to understand that you were a certain age, you are now a different age, you've changed. And over the years, you're going to change. Change happens every day. You come in today, it's something, you come tomorrow, it's something else. So you need to understand that change is happening all the time. And we need to look at how we can take these things that are happening and look at what's positive and adapt to it. So I find that the kids sort of look at um, change from a different perspective and realize that, oh, okay, it's better for me to stay open minded as opposed to, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how it's supposed to be. And I say, if you're going to keep that negativeness and you stay closed and you say, I want it this way, it's not going to help anybody. So being open and being able to maneuver, being flexible, it's important for them to, sort of see that this could be beneficial to them. Any different situation that we put in, it can be beneficial, but it can only be beneficial if you open yourself to it. If you see there's positivity there. If you decide, okay, I'm not going to let this hold me down. How can I now take this new situation and adapt it to suit my lifestyle or to suit my needs? What can I grasp from these situations and use them to grow, to be better?
I like that, what you said, using the positive aspect, because there are a lot of things that are not going to be in our control, but looking at what we can take from the experience to grow. And one of the things I've heard on a podcast that I love is, I try to remind myself to do this every day, is that every time I step through a physical door or a physical space, try to treat that as a new opportunity. So I'm very careful about the energy I bring into that. Even though I may have had a not so positive day, I try to make sure that how I'm showing up for others is definitely going to encourage and support them. So that's what we're about here at Race, as well as at Bella and Bella Productions. Nancy, anything you want to add to that before we take some questions from our audience.
As she said, but at the same time, what I love about the kids, like I don't know if you noticed that in your school, like our grade niners, they seem like they are still in grade seven.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's like because they didn't go to school, they didn't learn how to be older or something, because they acted still like grade seven and grade eight. But what is really great to see, as you said, because you can find resilience in kids. When they go to school, they started to grow. Like when I first met them, they started to now be as the grade niners, more mature. Like they are being fit to that, grade nine students, and even that for grade 10 and etc. So sometimes she said they need to learn to change, and it helps seeing other people
Yes.
and seeing the positive impact from other people, from other students, from their teachers, and etc. And it's like if the teacher don't bring positivity, the student will not be able to bring positivity. And I think that's like should be a school culture where accepting change and being positive about whatever and flexible about whatever that comes by. Because if the student, complain and the teacher will take that complaint negatively, then they will be like that. And that's how the home group teacher, like I always say, like how the home teacher is, the student home. Because she is their role model.
Yeah.
If she adapts easily, if she is positive, if she has great conversation, you will find their students are the same way, because they need role models, and they come to school, they find that, and it's really this is like one of the best part of being an educator, trying to be the best examples for these kids on how to be better. Because even so, if you have, as you said, sometimes you do as a teacher have a hard time, but you need to understand that I'm not, you're not going to bring this to the student. You're going to bring your positivity, so they would learn to be positive all the time. It's not easy,
Yeah.
but this is like, by example, and you will see many use.
This is brings me to the one thing that our school has tried to adopt. Ms. Lubna has actually, had a meeting with all of us, and she discussed this, where she said, take one teacher and make her sort of a parent to maybe 9 or 10 students, and then you get like 30 minutes or 20 minutes in the morning, and you sit with your kids and you sort of just have a conversation and figure out if they need help emotionally, socially, whatever the case may be. And you're responsible for those kids. So you build that sort of relationship, and like Nancy said, you become the role model, and they see that positive energy that you have, and they take it with them, and they try to be, more open according to how you feeling for the day, and that's how they sort of take their day. So I totally agree. It's important to be positive and put that positive energy out there.
Yes, leading by example is extremely important, and I agree. Your energy, what you're putting out there, is definitely infectious. So we're going to go into some questions. So Nancy, can we look at some of the questions we have from the audience? And as we're waiting, we again want to thank Raise the awareness of coaching and education, for this opportunity to speak this 5-part series. So Nancy?
Questions for managers of schools: how to help them be more resilient, so that can reflect on the staff and the students.
How to help staff be more
Help them to be more resilient, so that can reflect on the staff and the students.
For managers of schools.
resilient?
Yeah, I think it's important as well to look at managers of schools, because they also are under a lot of pressure, and it's important to sort of get them to do these types of activities as well, in order to become more resilient, so that they have a more balanced approach, and so they are able to see that their staff, because a lot of the managers sort of just, this needs to be done, etc., and the staff is like pressurized as well. So I think if they are more resilient, and they are able to see, if something happens and the school has performed badly, they should be able to take that and turn it into something positive, as opposed to going back and feeding it onto the staff and saying, look, we've performed badly, now here we need to do this, and this, focus, pressure, and all of that. We need to take the pressure off staff, we need to take the pressure off the kids, and sort of create a more manageable environment. So it starts from the top down. Yeah. So I think if our managers or our head of the schools are able to, come out of situations where they feel burdened or overwhelmed in a positive way. I think it'll filter down to the others, and that positivity is basically what we need in order to run a school appropriately. You need to have good, strong lines of communication open. You should be able to go into your manager and say, "Look, I'm feeling overwhelmed. This is too much. How do we go from here? What are some of the suggestions you can give me to manage?" As opposed to I can't talk to this person because it's only work related or academic.
Mhm. So you just, before we take the next question, you touched on two things, Maisha, what made me reflect on some of the things we've done as academic cluster managers working within ESC. So it's talking about feedback. So how we give individuals feedback can help in terms of framing, how we frame what we need to do to improve, how we frame that is important. Also, I think also communication. So opening those communication lines so the top individuals at least going, I say at least 2 layers down and making sure they talk to the people on the ground and have those in-depth conversations and really open it up to hear some of the concerns.
Yeah, I think, like you said, that communication is so important because a lot of them feel out of touch, especially our teachers. Like we had those conversations with them all the time, where they said, what's happening up there and what's happening down here. There's no, so bridging that gap will be quite important.
I think training, because let's say the school management and administration, sometimes, as you said, they just pressured and they need training on how to pause as well.
Yes.
To get out of that pressure and realize that working together, creating a plan, and then reflect that on the whole school as a school culture, it will help along the way. Maybe at the beginning it will be difficult, but at the end of the line, if everybody works on the same, synchronized together, think the same way, like everybody is creating these well-being lessons or classes, and everybody's talking, every teacher is, reflecting the same or doing the same thing. That comes. It's like the student and teacher relationship. Once the teachers, the student reflects as the teacher is doing. It's the same thing for administration. Whatever the administration, it will reflect on teachers. If the administration are resilient, if the administration are positive, you'll find that the staff are resilient and positive. And then you'll find the student resilient and positive. It goes all the way like back and forth. And this is, remember, like coaching of the whole that once we said. And I think that's how it's supposed to be. Because as you said, sometimes you feel overwhelmed. Can I go to my administration and talk about that? Like creating that kind of communication, like, yes, I can go. And then afterwards, instead of telling you what to do, coaching you on what to do. And that needs to have more of training level on the administration part, so they can train the teachers, and then the teachers can train the students and so on. It's not just focusing on subjects, because if you just focus on subjects, the student will grow at a certain point, they will not grow as a person. And to grow as a person, you need the other parts of life that, student can take from teachers and administration. Even like small things, when sometimes you find the school principal goes and talks to the students, teach them how, to talk, to communicate, and that creates a line of connection between the admin and the students. And then it will see, when the teachers see that, they will start having that communication with the students as well. And it just like bubbles, it reflects, goes from one on. Next question. Yeah?
Next question, okay?
What techniques or advices can you give to students to support their resilience in long term to maintain it for their future endeavors?
Advice for students in the long term.
Yes. Writing, journals.
Journaling.
Yeah, that's what
Journaling, I
always
think, is a good
advise.
practice.
Yes, because you need to understand your emotion, and that's where emotional intelligence comes from. We discuss that sometimes. Understanding your emotion and how to deal with them. Yes, because that's a big part. Because as you said, sometimes they don't understand their strength, and the same goes for their emotions. Like, why I'm acting this way? Because I feel this and this, because this happened. This is like goes a long way, like how I'm gonna feel about it and taking responsibility. Because we all work hard for something. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. It's just life. Okay, understanding that and understanding that it is my responsibility. It's not the universe's fault. It's not other people's fault. It's my responsibility. And now the next step, my responsibility. Take that responsibility and then move on. Moving forward, what can I do? And that's all. Like if you write that down, it makes you easier to understand it. Eventually, the student will start by themselves. Like maybe when they're walking, okay, well, I'm feeling upset because of this, because they've trained by writing it, and that will make them resilient for the future, long term, not just for schools.
I like what you said, Nancy, about journaling as both as a meditative practice and also for helping you work through your emotions. And I know a lot of students and adults use it as a reflective practice. So I think that's a good idea. So journaling. Okay, one more question we'll take.
Will change? You mentioned that change will happen, but what if the change is connected with a sad experience, and how can we deal with it?
With a negative experience, okay, or a sad experience. Okay. Are you sure you want to take that?
So I think, beside the fact that change is going to happen, understanding that, sad experiences can be, you can also look at that experience and internalize it and sort of realize that, sometimes,
Learn from it
you have to learn
and grow.
and grow. You can't harp on what has happened, or you can't stay there, because it will manifest into something dark or deep. So taking every situation and looking at, how do I now internalize what is positive from it? How do I get over what has happened? How do I grow from this? So I think it's very important to not only just take these sad experiences as something that has happened as part of life, but it's important to move on and accept that this has happened. Yes, it's possible that it may happen again, but how do I now learn from this experience? How do I now take what has happened to me and sort of move forward, but allow myself to have opportunities to deal with anything that might happen in this way, or to prevent it from happening in the future?
You reminded me of something, Maisha, that I'm trying to do, which is really to accept each experience and not see it or frame it as good or bad. So you're accepting it as is, and you just take it as it is, and don't color it with your biases, your background experience, and just try to, as you mentioned, grow and learn from it.
I think,
Nancy's
just to add
last point.
Just add like a framework for students. Sometimes that helps because they're still learning. They do not understand, because as a kid you don't have that many experiences, so it's just like limited, and they think that whatever they experience is the worst. They do feel that because they're still young. They don't understand that everybody has sad experiences. That's life. So I think giving them a framework, like letting them understand there's stages for coping, whatever it is. Like first you're gonna be shocked, so you're gonna be what happened, why this is new, what's going on, and then the next step, anger, sadness, or whatever that feeling. And here comes why we're saying journaling, because once you write that down, you're understanding your own feelings, and then the next step would be, the third stage is accepting that it is what it is. And now I need to move forward. I cannot change what happened. It's a sad experience. Okay, I'm gonna feel that sad, and it's okay to feel sad, and it's okay to be sad for whatever time you need, but it's not okay to be sad forever. Like you need to understand there's so much in life. You're gonna experience a lot of things. And understanding that everything is temporary. Happiness is temporary. Sadness is temporary. Once you take life as it is and just learn that, I think you would own life. Because everything is you're gonna feel everything as a stage, and then you will find that light after each tunnel, and you just like, it's like, as they always say, always the sun will rise after night, and that's life. Everything happens, then there is something else is gonna happen. You're gonna get out of this, and you're gonna get out of this. Life just keeps moving forward, and the strength and the resilience is just to keep
moving forward. And I agree
and
with that.
embracing whatever feelings you have.
And also being prepared helps you, because if you have systems in place, that helps you in terms of overcoming and navigating
I think
challenges.
Having frameworks for kids is the first step for them, to understand, because they're still young, they're still learning. Us as adults, we've learned them. Now, I think whatever we learn, we need to teach them.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I would like to thank both Maisha and Nancy for being here today. I'd like to thank Raise the Awareness of Coaching for Education. So you can check Race out on Instagram at Coaching for Education. Also, the live YouTube channel. Thank you for the individuals, Victoria and Jacob, behind the scenes who are managing this session. So huge thank you to you. And then also you can check out Bella and Bella Productions at bellaandbellaproduction.com. And I would like to introduce our second topic, or second part of the series, and Nancy will be moderating next week. So Nancy, can you share that with our audience before we leave?
Well, our next topic is going to be about healing-centered practices. So please join us. It's going to be an exciting conversation. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Race. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Mayusha.
Thank you,
It's been
Mayusha.
lovely as usual.
Okay, have a wonderful night wherever you are, and safe travels to you. See you next Wednesday.
See you.
That was good.